monotonous lark, singing its heart out. They always seem to be such happy, cheerful birds, and they do have an absolutely beautiful call. I didn't realize how yellow the inside of their mouth was. Look at that. Isn't that unbelievable? Now, my favorite is the black cuckoo shrike. I think it's the black cuckoo shrike that's got the red mouth. Let me just double check before I say that. I don't think it's the black cuckoo. I haven't seen a black cuckoo shrike in a very long time. Let me get it out quickly. Let's go see cuckoo shrike. Yes. Cuckoo shrikes are my favorite birds. But I haven't, when we started hearing them, and now they seem to have moved off. We saw them a couple of times. We saw a female. But yes, it is the black cuckoo shrikes that have got the bright red mouth. So that's quite interesting. Let me show you a picture here quickly. Look at that. Now, if you get to see it in real life, and this photo doesn't actually do it much justice, but it's quite spectacular to see that different color inside there. And yellow for the monotonous lark. I'm trying to think if anybody else has got particularly bright or striking colors. Oh, thank you, little bird, for letting us listen to your beautiful tune. It's definitely a lovely thing to hear first thing in the morning. Right, let's keep searching. Hopefully we're going to find something, or the next time you'll see us, hopefully we'll be at Chitwa Dam. But I'm going to send you all the way across to James. I'm not sure where exactly he is, but he has still got the pachyderms.
I do indeed still got the Ellies, and I still got the Ellies here with one that I think is, well, slightly less confiding than the others. This is a cow, and she's got a young calf behind her. And while you're looking at her there, you can see that my name is James Henry. Wonderful. And look at her. She's got teeth or tusks that are, well, they're quite pointy out the sides of her mouth. I'm not sure if that makes her more or less attractive to the wolves. But what you can see is that her ears, when she turns to us, just ever so slightly come out. They just sort of lift out as she looks towards us, as if to say, you guys are quite close enough. I don't really want you any closer than you are now. That's not to say that she's being in the least bit aggressive, but she's certainly showing, and she did, that she's not as comfortable as that young bull was, and that's totally typical for a cow not to be as comfortable as a young bull, and not nearly as tolerant, as not nearly as interested in our presence as young bulls. Very distinctive tusks there. Hello, Mary. You say, how in the world do they digest sticks? The short answer to that, Mary, is that they don't. The long answer is that, yes, very small sticks they can, but what she's eating there is not actually the stick. She's eating the bark off the stick. And that bark, of course, inside it has got the cambium layer, which is the vascular layer. You see how she just opened her ears a little bit as she looked towards us? It's got the vascular layer of the plant, which means that's where the water and nutrients are kept and where they travel from leaves to root and root to leaves. And that's what the elephant's going for. Now they can, if you ever look at elephant dung, especially in the winter, Mary, what you'll see is that there's a vast amount of sort of undigested, chewed up stick and that sort of thing. So they don't digest the lignin and the cellulose that makes up the wood. Yes, they have bacteria in the stomach that can help them to digest the structural plant material, but actual wood, no. It tends to be a byproduct and a roughage that goes through the digestive system almost unscathed. And you can see there she's been picking branches off, and she's been marked there by the tannins inside the bark of the combretum plant. And Laura, you're saying, what is she eating? She's eating combretum. Well, now she's eating grass, of course, but she was eating a combretum branch, and that's what that sort of red dye is. If you cut the combretum branch away, you will find that red tannin inside. And you saw her little calf there. And it's interesting, I mean, elephants at this time of the year will almost universally eat grass if they can. Yes, they do supplement the diet with other things. But I think elephants are very conscious, or maybe not conscious, but certainly physiologically aware of what nutrients they're short of and what nutrients they need, and I think they eat accordingly. Now, whether that is conscious or not, I don't know. Whether if they're feeling a little bit peaky one morning, they think, well, I think I should probably go and have some combretum apiculatum. That would be delicious. I think that'll make me feel a bit better. Or, I think much more likely, they feel a bit miffed, or they don't feel quite right, and they then go towards a specific plant to try and eat it. It might be a conscious decision, but it may well just be a physiological one. And I'd be very interested to know if it is conscious or not. There's no question, though, that elephants understand or are very selective about which species they're eating. Now, as I've said, and many of you are wondering what that red mark on her trunk is, as I explained, it's a combretum, it's the tannin from combretum bushes. So she's been tucking the combretum branches between her tusks and her trunk, and then pulling, and the bark, because her skin is so rough, has come off, and the inner bark has left a stripe of red mark there on the top of the trunk, and that's the tannin inside the combretums. I'll try, when she moves off, or when we move off, I'll cut you a piece of the bark and you can see what I mean. Now, she seems to be at the back of the herd, and I think the rest of them are slowly making their way down towards Beefleshoek Dam to have a drink, but they're going very slowly, feeding as they go. They're not in any rush at all, and that's of course on account of the fact that it really isn't very warm. Now, watch her here. Let's see if she doesn't pick up perhaps some root, and the roots are even redder than the branches, and she might just tuck it in between her tusk and her trunk there, and then you'll be able to see what I mean. So she's digging. You can see her very clearly digging there. As she snapped a root, I heard her go, "Kah." Let's see if she picks it up and see if she can't snap it, so you can see how she got that red mark. No, that one's much smaller. Now, that is very interesting, I must say, from Costa. You say, is this elephant activity typical for this time of year? Costa, yes and no. We went through a period just before the marula season, so around November, December, when there were no elephants here at all. And I think that they had all moved, much the same as the buffalo, onto the Gabbro plains, where there were short grasses, or short fresh grasses growing on nutrient-dense soil that very quickly goes to seed. And once it goes to seed, it loses its nutritional value. And I think the elephants have moved back down here onto the granite-based soils much more quickly than the buffalo have. So to that extent, yes, you can say it's typical that they're here. But of course, the reason they're here now and not on other granitic areas is that we've had a lot of rain recently, which means that the grass here is much longer, which means that there's nutrition available. Also, because there has been so little other sort of large herbivore activity, so because there aren't vast numbers of buffalo coming through here, there's a lot of grass for the elephants to eat. So yes, it is seasonal that they are here. They are here because of the rain that we've had, but is it typical for this time of the year? I wouldn't say necessarily, because often, of course, this time last year, it was dry as a bone. I'm not sure how many elephants we had here. But yes, elephants do exhibit seasonal movement. So if you have a predictable season, well, then you can predict where the elephants are going to be. And certainly they started moving back into this area around about, let's say, the end of January, beginning end of January, and I think that was largely in response to the marula fruits of the area. We get very great or huge numbers of marula fruits in this area. And maybe in the background you can hear the Currachane button quail going ooh, ooh. Mandragora, a fascinating Twitter handle there. I suspect that's possibly not the name that your mother gave you, but I'm glad that you're enjoying creating your own identity on Twitter. My Mandragora, you say, wonderful stuff. You say, is there anywhere that elephants can go and get extra nutrition to supplement their diets? You mean like a sort of salt lick, perhaps, my Mandragora? There isn't. We don't put out salt licks. We don't put out any supplementary food for the elephants. There's no need for us to do that. But elephants will sometimes eat soil. So in very dire times, they will go towards nutrient-dense soil regions, and they will sort of dig up the soil, and they'll eat that soil. And I'm just trying to think of an area that might be used for that sort of thing. There are very few here on Djuma. There are one or two around the Arathusa Lodge, and they're called sodic areas. And what you notice about them is that the soil is white. It's often low-lying, down near a clearing, or down near a drainage line, and that white soil can be quite nutrient-rich, and sometimes they'll go and eat the soil in those areas. There's a little one there, that's wonderful. I was trying to learn how to eat such difficult food from Mum. Trying very hard. There we go, succeeding finally. Oh, she's talking now. They're all talking to each other now. Somebody's having a conversation here. In fact, they're talking both sides of the road, all of them going, wonder what they're saying. Robin, you're wondering if female elephants live longer than males. I'm not sure. I don't know. You know, I think testosterone is one of the greatest killers of males around the world, eventually. So I'm going to say yes. I think females probably do live longer, but I'm going to check for you on my spanky new mammal app. And I also would like you to notice, you see VM is just at a slightly different angle from me. That little elephant calf has broken a tusk already. And I've forgotten exactly when it is that they get, or don't get the milk tusk. That might be a milk tusk, but it looks maybe a bit long. Alright, let's have a look here. I'll just quickly have a look and see about the age. Tormented Zombie Owl, quite possibly the greatest Twitter handle in the world. You say, can elephants get what in their tusks, Meg? Cavities. Yes, not sort of in the external parts normally. They do snap off from time to time, but they can obviously get cavities inside, because what happens is that the nerves sometimes die. They get abscesses in those nerves, and that can create tremendous pain, and eventually the tusk will come away. So inside the mouth, yes, they can get cavities, but you must remember it's a very rare situation. Half the reason we get cavities, of course, is not necessarily because we have poor dental hygiene. It's because of the rubbish we put in our mouths. So because of the sugar that we eat, eventually that creates cavities in the enamel. All of the animals out here, of course, much like with all the lifestyle diseases that human beings get, animals out here just do not suffer from, because they're living in the environment in which they've evolved, and so they don't suffer from those sorts of things. Cavities, tooth cavities, are largely lifestyle problems with humans, so yes, they can get them, but it's very unusual. Let's head down towards the dam. I just want to quickly check if I can't find out for you if males don't live slightly less long than females. But the one criticism I have of my wonderful app here is that nothing is in tables. It's all in lengthy sentences. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find out. All right, we're going to head down to the dam, and Tayla is at a much bigger water body right now. So let's go and find out what's over there.
Go, David, go, David, go! He's chasing after the swallows as they're swooping down along the surface of the water. Good job, David. But we've come across some hippopotami now at the Chitwa Dam. But they're hiding from us. They keep going underneath the water. And it's not as spectacular as it was yesterday morning when we popped past here. Oh my goodness, I think I just saw... No, I almost had a mild heart attack. I thought I saw a fiscal shrike, but it wasn't. It was a lesser grey shrike in flight. But there's one of the hippopotamus that's not too comfortable with us today. But they're all spread out today, the hippos. Just trying to see. It looks like they're all around the grass. You see that where those nests are, David? There's one, and there's a whole lot of them, all just around this particular area. So they're not in a big pod today. But that's also not uncommon. The hippos are allowed to move around. And they do. Oh, look, this one's coming out of the water a bit. What's she doing? Is it an old one, a young one? Turn to us so we can see. It looks like a female hippo here, just from her size. Not particularly large. And I wonder where all our little calves are that we're playing about the other afternoon. That was so wonderful. There's 2 hippos now. My goodness, look at that. They just split in half and became 2. And it looks like a bull on the right, but not a particularly big bull. Maybe a non-dominant bull. Oh, look, there's 3 now. It's like they just keep splitting. Oh, wow, look at this. See how shallow it is there? It's obviously a little island. Hello, guys. And I'm sure that they feel much better than not being able to touch the bottom. But they'll relax with us. So actually quite close to this little causeway. And then as they saw the vehicles, they felt a little bit intimidated. So they moved off, but not by much, just a couple of meters. And now they feel much happier at this distance. See, there's quite a few gremlins here, so we can't always park in the spots that we want to park. Look at them, but still looking over, giving us the death stare. This is really, really lovely. This dam is fantastic. It just provides us with so many different things, from fish eagles to hippopotamus, crocodiles, all the different types of birds. This one is now doing the downward facing hippo, which is a rare yoga move because you actually don't get to see it very often. That's actually not a particularly big one either. What are you doing, hippopotamus? Why is your head on the floor? Maybe it's trying to do a handstand. I'm not sure what hippos get up to. We don't get to spend 24 hours a day with them, so you never know. They may have some hidden talents along the line. But this is quite wonderful. And they're quite chilly, and well, it is quite chilly today. So if we do get a break in the clouds and the sun comes out, these hippo may even go out and bathe and out on the sandbanks to try and keep nice and warm. There you go, having a little play about. And very social creatures, hippos too. Even as they move on and become adults, you still see them nudging each other, porpoising about. First thing in the morning, and always just as the sun's about to go down, they seem to be the most active, the most energetic. But now I think that they look like they've got heavy eyes, especially that one that we're looking at the moment. Looks like it's ready to go to sleep. Geeky, you're wondering if hippos have the same type of bond that elephants have. Possibly. I don't think it's quite as strong as the bond between the different members of elephants and their calves. There definitely is to some extent, but you know what's different is that the bull, there'll be a territorial bull that will hang around with a pod of hippos, and he is exceptionally protective over them, more so than I think the rest of the members over one another. So he watches over all of them. And if anybody comes and gives, look, it's splashing, oh wow! If anybody comes and gives them hassle, like another big hippo, or even an elephant, I've seen elephants get too close and hippos have a go at them and snort and charge them. They will take charge and try and chase the threat away as well. So you must be careful. And that's often the problem when you go on canoeing trips in river systems where there are lots of hippos, is it's not necessarily the females and the calves. They sort of will move off. But it's if you upset that big territorial bull and you get too close to his ladies, he will not stand for that and he will come out and charge you. Which is never fun. Not fun at all. Very quiet out here though. A couple of birds. Come on, hippos, do another porpoise for us. Mike 1011, they're wondering if there's any hippos close to the coast. There actually used to be. That's where hippos were actually first spotted when the European settlers started moving in to the coast of South Africa in their big ships. They would see the hippos moving around. I wonder if Mozambique you could maybe see hippos. Oh, listen to the fish eagle. Can you see the fish eagle, David? It's actually on the dead tree, just to the left. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if it calls again. We'll take our attention away from the hippos because it's quite amazing to watch a fish eagle as it calls, how they tilt their heads back towards the sky. Obviously, that's my pathetic attempt at a fish eagle call. Now, where do we look, David? Do we look at the hippos? It's a hard one. I want to show you the bird calling, but of course, the hippos are now standing on a shallow bank again. Oh, wow, perfect timing. You see, they're so happy. They're playing with each other. It is beautiful. My goodness, we've got Egyptian geese flying in from all angles. There it lands, doing a territorial display. Now, I know I'm jumping from subject to subject to subject, but you don't understand. There's so much happening all of a sudden at the dam. We've now got hippos calling. Those two are shouting about. It's too exciting, eh? We really don't know where to look because we're not sure if a hippo is going to jump out of the water again or if the fish eagle's going to call. It's a tough call as to where to look. But isn't that exciting, though, the fact that we are just so unsure as to where to point the camera. I think that's the best thing about a safari. It is so lovely out here. Bit nippy again. You can hear the trickling of the water. No catfish, sadly. Come on, fish eagle, call for us. Going to start calling now. One is just called. So normally there's one instigator and then the rest start chiming in too. No, now they've gone all quiet. Now, Matt, you were wondering if hippos feel the cold. Oh, yeah, to an extent, I definitely think so. And that's why they come out of the water and sun themselves. However, they do have quite a bit of skin. So it's really interesting with a hippopotamus. I got to see a hippo autopsy of a big bull that had died. And they cut it open. And I've told the story a couple of times. We also had a parasite specialist come through and was teaching us about the various parasites that are specific to hippos. And one of the things we did is they opened up this hippo, and I don't think I have the photos anymore. I think I may have actually deleted them, of what the skin looked like. So the top epidermis, the first layer of skin, is actually really thin and quite sensitive. That's the part that gets sunburned. There's Egyptian geese flying about. There's many Egyptian geese flying around here, so they're having big territorial disputes at the moment. And anyway, so the top of the skin is very, very thin. But then there's about 3 or 4 centimeters of more skin. It's not fat, it's actual skin. And that must help keep them warm too. And then you get the thin fatty layers that actually don't have much fat on. This must be a young bull. He's not particularly big, but you see how he's marking his territory. It's typically the bulls that only swish their tails like that. He's most likely a young bull that's living in this pod and is not showing any interest with the girls. And the territorial bulls are very much tolerant of the young bulls. They don't mind them so much. He's actually very young. He can't be more than about a couple of years old. He's still got a lot of growing to do. But if you just look at his face... Give a big smile for the camera. Yes, we're talking about you. You can see he hasn't got big teeth just yet. They're still quite little. Little vampire teeth. Look at them. They're sharp, eh? And they're always sharpening on each other as well. And that's what I got to feel too. You won't believe how sharp those tusks are, or those teeth. And they would live here, so there could be a couple of them. And that's maybe what's happening, is maybe it's actually a group of these younger boys that are just, feeling a bit playful. Look at this, opening their mouths. Not quite a threat display. I think they're just sort of teasing each other. And they're calling again, having a little bit of a battle. So I haven't seen any moms with the calves yet, so they must be elsewhere. They must be behind that big island somewhere. It'd be amazing though. I'm really excited for winter again, because I can't wait to see the hippos sleeping out on the sides of the banks. That's going to be really nice. Just to get a size estimate is going to be fantastic. This is beautiful. I'm just enjoying just sitting out looking. And you can almost see why sometimes the guests wouldn't want to leave their rooms with a view like this. I know I wouldn't. I'd definitely spend a morning in my room just enjoying this. But luckily for us, all the guests are out on safari, so we are able to come and sit and enjoy this. Hello, boys. Goodness, there's a number of different birds calling. Very active at the dam today. Now, I've also been listening out on the radio to see if anybody's found any more leopards, but it doesn't seem like anyone's had much luck today. Look at him. Splashing about. And it's obviously more impressive when you do have a big territorial bull to open up his mouth and see his massive canines. I reckon that's probably him there. Oh, that looked like a little one that just bopped down under the water. A young calf. But these two over here are, I think, the most entertaining. They're having the most fun this morning. Mr. Myman Tregora, you're wondering how long hippos can stay underwater for. It's roughly between 5 and 6 minutes, so they can hold their breaths for quite a long time. They don't need to do that though. The only time I find that hippos are really utilizing holding their breaths is when they're walking along the bottom of water to move away from something. So if they get a bit of a fright, they duck under. That's where they feel safest. They'll sink to the bottom and then almost walk as if they were walking on the moon. And it's very slow, sort of, it's almost like a trot, but obviously not a quick trot, just a very slow, sort of one of those, bouncing along the water, sort of floating up a bit and then dropping down. And then they can travel, quite a few yards in distance before they pop up and have to come and take another breath again. So that's really quite nice that they're able to do that. Trying to see how many. I think we've seen about 6 hippos. I just can't see where the rest of them are. And this is the problem now with the dam being so deep. There's very limited spots that these hippos will go where they can feel comfortable. And the moms and calves in particular, because those little ones are still learning and still building up muscle and the strength to stay underwater for longer periods of time, to also sink to the bottom and walk along the water. You could imagine that they wouldn't be able to stay down for very long. So they need to hang around in shallow areas. Just looking around, see if there's any other birds that have come to join us. Nope, still the same group. And I'm also starting in the very far distance to hear the tractors going, so it seems like all the staff is ready to start their day. We're going to leave the dam now. We're going to go and search for something else, and hopefully we'll find something. We might pop onto Cheetah Plains very quickly. James has managed to get some signal again, so let's go across. And, well, he's been gone for a while. Maybe he's still with those elephants. I don't know. Maybe they've gone for a drink.
When Gendre tried to smooch her after she'd had a hard cough.
Oh, hello again. We weren't gone for very long. Should we have a look at the white-faced whistling ducks on the dam wall? I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm sure the gremlins were attacking. But here we have a lovely flock of white-faced whistling ducks. They are lovely birds. They've got the most amazing call. I'm actually going to play the call for you. Let me search for it very quickly. I think out of all the ducks, they have the nicest. Let's go. D for ducks. Are you ready to listen to the call? Hang on, I don't know if that was it. I'm trying to turn the volume up. Isn't that cool? They really do whistle, which is quite amazing. And you saw there was a little bit of a bit of a dispute going on amongst that flock. One got chased away. Not quite as savage as Egyptian geese, though. You can see that Egyptian geese in the back now is racing down. I think he's going to chase another Egyptian goose away. But there's so many of them around here. The bird species is incredible. So it's inevitable that they're going to come across conflict. Now, I just want to pull across off the side of the wall, because there's another car coming. Oh, fish eagle friend. Land, fish eagle, land. There's the fish eagle. Isn't that beautiful? Well done, David. Fantastic filming. Now I've got the car running because I am going to have to reposition again. There it goes. We'll get another view of the fish eagle. Let me pull right off here. Oh, I think it's actually a bit too far away. I think it's just tucked itself. Yeah, no, we can't see it. It's just hidden behind the marula tree, unfortunately. But it is... yeah, it's really, really lovely out here. It's quite narrow, but I think that car's got enough space to creep past us. And you can see there's actually quite a bit of erosion around here at the moment. Just trying to work out what we're going to do next. Let's keep going. Let's keep going past the dam. Well, they've squeezed past us. And the white-faced whistling ducks flew off, but I'm sure it won't be long before they come back to their original spot again. Actually, there's a couple down here. Let's see what other birds we've got. Oh, hang on, we've got a family of waterbuck. Let me position like this for you, David. Can you see them down there? Or there's a bar in the way. There they are. They're just seeing one, but there's actually an entire family of waterbuck down there feeding on the nice long grass. And this is the areas that waterbuck love the most. You can see a lot of papyrus in there, so it's quite damp. And that's what they're notorious for, is hanging around permanent water sources. Out here, they don't really use the rivers and the dams to escape from, you know, or sort of flee if they are being chased by a predator, but you see it a lot in Zambia, Botswana, Zimbabwe. You see more waterbuck in water than you do on land, just about. Aren't you? They've worked out that they don't really have to do that. Now, she's got a massive belly on her. I am seeing correctly, hey, David? She does look a bit swollen. Maybe she's got a calf that is developing inside, but a bit of a tricky angle to have a look. She just looks very, very large. But lovely animals, and something we haven't been seeing a lot of. My goodness, at one point we were only seeing waterbuck, more waterbuck than we were impala, and now it's gone. Of course, the impala have come back again, and the waterbuck are slowly making their return. And I think what's happened, though, is I think a lot of them have gone off and hidden away to give birth. The other day I did see a very, very young waterbuck, and mom hiding off in the thicket. We couldn't really get a nice view, though. So I think that's what's happening at the moment. The kudu and the waterbuck, they tend to give birth a little bit later in the year. But there's a whole family there, but they're so camouflaged and it's so thick it's almost impossible to see. Right, let's go see what else we can find. My goodness, I cannot believe this is probably... I'd love to go walking through here. I just think this little drainage system is stunning with all the leadwoods. It really, really is quite beautiful down there. You might get some interesting birds in this little drainage system too. Oh, crocodile, David. Can you see it? Just on the edge. So you see where those, look at this. Wowee. Now you can see that there is a fence there. That's just to try and discourage the hippos from going and grazing right in front of the lodge, because you can imagine that can be a bit of a hazard. That is a big crocodile. Hey, he is a monster. And he's not in the water today. He's not having any of that. He's just relaxing. David, is that another crocodile or a log? Can you drop the camera slightly into the water? Oh no, it's a log. That's not a crocodile. And look how close that water thickening is also sitting to him, just on the log. But you can see the crocodile is not interested at all in that bird. He's just quite happily just trying to keep warm and keep out of the cold weather today. Now, that's exciting because we haven't seen a crocodile for quite some time. So at least we know where the secret hiding spot is now. Hey, that's quite cool.
Very cool.
I don't know if this is Boris. This one looks like it could be a little bit bigger than Boris. What do you think, David? It's hard to say, isn't it? It is always tricky, but it does look like a monster crocodile, maybe 3 meters, just over 3 meters in length. We can just start to see the tip of his head. Wonderful. And there's a pair of water thickneys coming out too. They must have a nest back in there. Right. We're going to send you across to James again. We'll give it a bash this time. If not, well, I'll be here waiting for you.
We're sitting here with some monotonous larks. There we go. And I must apologise, last time we came live I didn't realise we were live. So I do apologise. There we have the monotonous lark singing away very monotonously. And you know, they've been so monotonous all the time. They go all night. They don't shut up. Imagine that was your lot in life, to sit on a log and go pity 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 again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And they fly up and they do a little sort of hanging acrobatic dance, which is impossible to see when we have the roof on. And then they land again. It's back in the same place. Oh, Alyssa, this is a wonderful question because it's easy to answer. You say, do male or female birds call more? It's the males almost always that do most of the calling. That is because, as with most species of vertebrate, it is they that are doing the seducing. And I promise you it is not unusual, or it is by no means a coincidence that most male rock stars or most rock stars are male. Throughout the animal kingdom, it is the males who tend to be the more likely performers, not necessarily better at all, but the more likely performers, because it plays a hugely important role in seduction. And that's exactly what that monotonous lark is doing. How any female monotonous lark could possibly find that attractive, I'm not sure. It's attractive the first 78,000 times you hear it, but after that it becomes slightly, well, monotonous. We've come down the cut line. Our elephant make it to the dam. Consulting detective, do you say do only the males make the call? I'm going to say no. I'm sure the females do as well, but probably nearly as much. I don't know that for sure. I'll have to have a look at that. I mean, I'm sure they would respond with a similar sort of a call. So as I was saying, we're going down to the southeast, and the plan was... Oh, sorry, we have to stop. Apparently we are losing some signal, so I will try and find some things around where we're sitting. The first will be Vernonia, which we've looked at, and I will tell you that Vernonia has got a rather interesting medicinal use. Vernonia is used in the same way that purple panweed is. It's used as a device for abortion sometimes. Apparently it is sort of the entire plant is used, and so that's not particularly well, it's not the most PC thing to discuss, but that's what it's used for in Botswana sometimes, and also as a contraceptive. And apparently what you have to do is make a tea out of the leaves just before the moment critique, as it were, and you drink the tea, and that will have a contraceptive effect. Quite interesting. I did read in the book that it said there is no clinical proof of it working, and indeed it has been known to cause some kind of hallucination, so possibly not the best method. Good. That is the purple panweed Vernonia. Not the purple panweed, but Vernonia. They are two different plants. Then we have a string of stars. And all of these flowers, the strings of stars, stopped flowering for a while. And they stopped flowering because we didn't have any rain. I think it was about 3 weeks. And then about 2 weeks ago, a huge dumping of rain came upon the area. And so all the flowers have come up yet again. So some of the annual flowers in the area have had 2 flushes, which I think is most impressive. Good. Megan, that's pretty much all I've got around here. So we may have to link away if you want anything else. Oh, we have a question. Good. And now you want to know how many monogamous bird pairs there are in our area. Do you mean species or actual pairs of birds? I couldn't begin to tell you how many actual pairs of birds there are out here that are monogamous. In terms of the species, I'm not sure I could tell you exactly either. We can quickly try and go through them. We know all of the eagle species are pretty much monogamous. We know that the Egyptian geese are monogamous. What else? The rollers are monogamous. I think the sunbirds are monogamous. I don't know, that's a really good question. Most of the raptors tend to be fairly monogamous, and the smaller the bird gets after that, well, possibly they're less monogamous. So I don't know that the sunbirds are, actually. I will have to try and find out. That's a nice question. I'm not sure exactly how many there would be. But definitely all of them, most of the raptors. And a lot of the ducks. I mean, pretty much the only duck we see here is the Egyptian goose, which isn't a goose at all, but a duck. Oh, I can't move, sorry, I forgot. So let's head across to Tayla and get an update from her, and I'll find some signal.
James, good luck on that signal mission. It seems as though signal is a hard thing to find out here on this very windy day. But we are heading towards Cheetah Plains. And sadly, there isn't much going on at the moment, as you know, in this weather with the animals. I think we've been very, very lucky to see what we've already seen today. And I thought that with the wind blowing for most of the night and the early hours of the morning that it would have died down by now, because typically that happens. It's very unusual that you have wind the entire day. Usually it's first thing in the morning, or you'll get it later in the afternoon. Today might be one of those days where we just have wind the whole day, which is wonderful. I can't wait. Said no guide ever. It's really miserable. Ooh, I just think I smelt a musk bull. No, I can't smell it anymore. It's such a pungent smell, and I really wish all of you who've never been to South Africa, that's one of the things I wish you could smell. Musk bull, waterbuck, a wildebeest, because I think a wildebeest smell is the worst smell in the whole world. It smells like off butter. It's terrible. And wild dogs. You've got to smell wild dogs too. That's also, it's a sweetly sick smell. That makes my stomach turn every time I smell them. What's your worst smell out here, David?
Lion scat.
Okay, that's a goodie. David says his worst smell is lion feces, which is not a bad one, especially when it's stuck on your tire. Then it smells the worst. You're sort of driving, you think something's died around here, and it's the worst because you do that to your guests as well. You're driving and you stop, and all of a sudden the wind will swirl, and you'll go, something's dead here. Something's dead, and you look and you look and you look, nothing. Go and you drive again. That smell comes again, and you're like, something else that's dead here, until you get out the car and you realize that the feces is not even on your tire anymore. And this has happened to me because I've done this many times. Is that it's now, obviously you've been off-roading and all the feces has come off in the grass, but because sometimes what happens when it is a fresh feces, it shoots up and underneath the sort of the well of where the tire is, and it gets stuck up in there. That is a tricky spot to get lion dung out of. I remember my tracker, Candy, every time I drove over lion dung, I had to buy him a 2-litre cool drink. So that was our deal, because what happens out here is that in this particular area, the trackers, one of their roles is to pack cooler boxes and then also the vehicles nice and clean. we would of course polish the cars together, and then he would do the washing. But every time that happened, you can imagine. Right, so apparently we've got low signal, so I don't know how long we're going to have to sit here before. Right, let's go across to James.
Fucking bit of signal issues today, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Never mind. We have now reached the very end of where we can go in a southeasterly direction, so we're going to head further to the west, check quickly at Baboon Pan, the last known place of Hosana and Shongile. Maybe they've decided to come across there. Otherwise, I thought we then might go and check the hyena den, so that might be quite fun, if the hyenas are there. As Liam was saying, it's not getting any warmer. No, it isn't. It has remained cold and fairly miserable this morning, and I think we're all going to be very pleased to have our mitts wrapped around a pleasant cup of coffee sometime in the not too distant future. Hopefully I will be able to maintain some form of signal going down this hill, but I'm going to go very slowly on the off chance that that isn't the case. I must say these days tend to be very mammal free when the wind is blowing. Still, we had a wonderful elephant sighting. So we'll just drive slowly down here and see what pops into view. I will tell you that I've heard no speak of leopard on the radio. There are 3 lionesses up on Buffelshoek. Nobody seems to know exactly who they are. I think it's so interesting also that you saw Amber Eyes this morning with Tayla, but where is the rest of the pride? Why is she south of their territory, very slightly south of the Nkuhuma territory? What is she doing there? And why have they seemingly split up from the other 3 of the pride? Their split has become more and more obvious and more permanent. It's gone. No, there it is. It's a little bird. You see it there, Vim? You should have it now. On the bush just behind. Yeah, go onto that bush that you're in the middle. Sorry, no, left. That one there, yes. That you got it. There we are. A red-backed shrike, all puffed out, trying to stay desperately warm. With his little bandit's mask and his red back. And a very unimpressive call compared with many of the shrikes. Some of them, especially the bush shrikes, got the most gorgeous calls. And that one just goes tick, 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 tick. That's it. Let's continue along here. I was sounding a little distracted there for a while because I saw a shape up on the road. But I think it's just a bush hanging over the road. I thought it might be a cat, but it wasn't. I'm going to drive very slowly through here. Hello, Molly. You're wondering about my favourite bird call? Well, bird, of course, out here is the white-browed scrub robin, and I think its call is indeed my favourite call. It goes. It's just got many memories attached to it. Sorry, no. It is one of my favourite calls. The call that attaches the most memory for me, though, is the southern boo-boo, which is found throughout South Africa, and it always. So whenever I hear the southern boo-boo, it goes. There are some impala. Unfortunately, they've hidden, and we can't move, which is a situation of some frustration, no doubt for you as well. So we'll just discuss a few more bird calls if you like. In fact, I can play a few to you. Why don't we play some bird calls? I'll play the boo-boo. I think my favourite still is the white-browed scrub robin out here, but I do enjoy the boo-boo call as well. Swamp boo-boo, tropical boo-boo, southern boo-boo. Ah, just screams Christmas holiday to me. Ah, yes. Good. Then the other one, nice one out here, is the black-crowned chagra, which goes, it's sort of plaintive whistle. It's deeply mournful indeed. Right, what else do we find around here, Vim? Can you see anything that we can talk about? A dead leadwood. Excellent. Well, why not? Let's have a look. There is a dead leadwood. Fascinating. Of course, it's called a leadwood because it is denser than water, and that means that it doesn't float. Leadwood does not float. Ollie, you want to hear a fish eagle sound? I mean, I don't know if you want to hear me try and do it. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me play it first, and then I'll try and do it for you. It's not an easy one. Ollie, let me find the fish eagle for you. I think I'm going the wrong way in this book. It's not a book, though. It's a computer. 1 second. I will find the fish eagle for you. No, I won't. Apparently it's disappeared. Okay, I'm going to have to do it anyway. What do you think, Vim?
Sounds a bit like...
Did you think there was a fish eagle going past?
No, more like a hardy-dar laughing at something.
A hardy-dar laughing at something. Yes, I think that's probably not a bad description of what I've just done. I don't know why oh, here it is. Okay, and here's what it really sounds like. It sounds exactly like what I did. See, it's the same. I like the reverb. Very nice. Okay. Shall we try and move again, Megan? Or just sit here? Oh, good. Tayla's managed to find herself some further signal. Let's go across to her.
We went through our notorious dodgy spot as we come into Cheetah Plains, but we're here now, and we're going to slowly start making our way towards Tree in a Row Pan to have a quick look around there and see if there's anything about. I would like to also poke my nose in to the plains. However, I can't imagine that there would be much on those big open plains today with this gusting wind. It wouldn't be a very good spot. Unless you were a cheetah and you were laying flat down in the grass, and it wouldn't be too bad. But other than that, it can't be too pleasant to be standing out in the open with no shelter whatsoever. There hasn't been much activity around here for the moment. It just always amazes me how some weeks a certain property will absolutely flourish with every different animal that you can absolutely think of. And then other days they go completely quiet, and then there's almost nothing about at all. I suppose that's just the way of the bush, isn't it? Wherever there's food, wherever there's water, that's where the animals will go. And because there's so much of it around at the moment, we're just listening to Megan give me the update, to James to me. So yes, apparently I'm going to poke my nose onto the plains. Let's go have a look. David, do you even think we're going to see a wildebeest on the plains? You think so? There's always that one wildebeest that just, you know, is the toughest Norman. Norman doesn't let anything bother him. He stands there, feet firm on the ground, and looking around, making sure that there's no one trying to steal his territory. I suppose that's why he hangs around there. Right. Come on, plains. We're getting there soon. We're actually going to pop out at Cheetah Plains Pan first. We'll have a quick scan there, then we will go south and then we will go along the Mala Mala boundary, come up via 3 in a row pan, and then we will head home again. We'll head back towards Djuma, which we literally are just poking our noses in just to have a quick look around. The 3 in a row pan is this side, but let's leave that till last. There's no fresh elephant tracks around here. Right, so let's keep going. Should we sing the Kuchava song?
How does it go?
I don't know how the Kuchava song goes, but we can sing the Kuchava song because I'd very much like to call Kuchava my favorite leopard out of the bushes. Let's see if we can quickly make one up. La 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 la. Come on, David. Your turn. Warm that voice up. That's so deep. Right. Kuchava, Kuchava, where are you, Kuchava? Please come out and say hello so we don't have to. I don't know. I don't have a song. I don't have a Kuchava song. And it's not a singing day today. It's too cold. It's too cold indeed. So there we go. That's what the Kuchava song does not sound like. So basically just sang you the other one. But I don't think that would call anything out. I think if I had to carry on singing like that, that may chase everything else away. Even the birds will probably not hang around. Right. We're not far now. Whoops. Over the bumps. Cheetah Plains has actually got smooth roads. They're not too bad. I think in comparison to the rest of the roads out here, a little bit better. But it's also a lot flatter. Cheetah Plains and the rest of the properties is very little elevation. Whereas Djuma, you've seen it when you sit on Cheetah Cutline and you look across the valley, you can sort of see where Zoe's road is. You can see there's definitely higher points. Chitwa's the same as all. The airstrip is one of the highest points that they have. And then Arathusa, yeah, sort of does this as you sort of go further south. I think the northern parts are much higher. But there's not many lookout points out here. David, I don't even know if we're going to come out at Cheetah Plains Pad. Maybe. I have a feeling no. Oh my gosh, Kate, I forgot. I completely forgot. You've said, is today World Frog Day? It is indeed World Frog Day. Happy World Frog Day. I can't believe that I've forgotten. I think James also forgot. And I'm actually shocked because we're going out frogging this evening, of course, towards the end of drive. And Tristan and I are going to make some nets today because we can't buy it, and for some bizarre reason. And I'm sure maybe you remember this. When you were a kid and you went to the beach or anywhere like that, you take those little brightly colored nets. It almost looked like the netting was mosquito netting with a little stick, and you fish in the little rock pools. Well, that's what I used to do. So I love those nets. I used to carry one in my vehicle in Zambia and in the Eastern Cape, and I would catch all sorts of things, frogs and crabs and butterflies and everything with it. And then I don't know if you remember, now we're going back, feels like years ago, that one time when I was helping James in the tent and I couldn't quite catch the insects because I wasn't fast enough. And David, you'll remember this. Remember my packet that I made?
Oh, yes.
And what did we call it? I have no idea what we called my net that I made with a stick that I found in the bush and then a plastic bag. It didn't really work so well. So Tristan has managed to get some proper equipment, and we're going to make these little fishing nets so that we can successfully catch some frogs, to have a look at them a little bit later. Right, so that's very exciting. It is indeed World Frog Day. How wonderful. My favorite day of the year. I can't believe I forgot it. It's almost, I should be normally more excited than I am on my birthday for World Frog Day. Silly me. It's these early mornings, they're getting to me. I don't know, we had Cheetah Plains Pad. Oh my goodness, this is miraculous. I don't know how we managed to get here. I just took a whole lot of random roads, hoping that we were eventually going to pop out somewhere that looked familiar. And there's nothing. Not even an impala. Look at that, David. It's very quiet, as you can see, except for the monotonous larks. They're the I can't say exception. Every other word was coming out of my mouth except exception. We've got some swallows flying around. It's starting to warm up though, which is quite nice. Right, should we go to the big plains and have a look? Maybe we're going to get lucky. It's very quiet here. No, it's a pity. I did say it though. I did give you all a fair amount of warning that I didn't think there was going to be very much out in the open. But you never know, because that one day that you say, oh no, we can't go there, and then you don't, and then there's like something miraculous and just outstanding, the day will come. Something like that will happen eventually. What might be funny is if we try and watch some birds fly in this wind, but like raptors, because raptors are my favorite. When it's windy like this, they struggle to fly, especially because it doesn't seem like it's just gusting from one direction. It sort of comes from the south and then a little bit from the east, and it's blowing all about at the moment. That might be entertaining. Let's see if we're going to find anybody that wants to fly for us. Or watching a hornbill fly as well, that could be quite good. Okay, we're almost at the open plains. We are not far now. Checking around it. I'm just cupping my ear because it's so windy here, it's become difficult to hear the questions coming through. Now Heather, you're wondering, what is the most difficult bird call? Did I hear that correctly? I don't know if that... Unusual, there we go, unusual bird call that we get here. Unusual. Let's try and think of the most bizarre sounds that I've heard. The trumpeter hornbill is quite spectacular. That is also weird, because you look at that bird, and when we get up to the plains, I'll show you a picture and we'll play its call. You sort of look at it and you go, okay, and then the sound that comes out of its mouth is even worse. I think that's all. The drongos are quite special, just because they have a very metallic. It sounds like it's like a mechanical call. It doesn't sound like it comes from a bird. Let's get to a nice little lookout point so we can scan around us. See if there's anything here. If I don't lose my hat. I'll just stop here. Right, let's have a quick look. Let's get the trumpeter hornbill out. I'm going to go to H for hornbill. Now we have to find it. Okay, no, that's not it. I've got it. Hang on, David, before you zoom in, my phone is a little bit dusty. Let's just give it the good old wipe on the sleeve, and I'm sure you're all very well used to that. Let me turn it around. Now we've got to try and get the angle right. How's that angle? Is that alright? So there we go. The weird looking birds, as it is now, I apologize, there is a bit of a glare from the light. So strange looking birds, when you see them, and they love fig trees, so you always see them around jackalberries, the massive fig trees, you name it, anything that has decent amount of fruit on it. Now we're going to listen to the call, so I just need to turn my phone up again. Go back. You've got to click on it. No, that's not that one. Are you ready? That sort of sounds like James when we've run out of coffee. Complaining that there's no coffee in camp. But so yeah, so Heather, I think that has to be one of the most bizarre sounds that comes out of a bird's mouth out here, is a bird that sounds like babies crying, really. So the trumpeter hornbill, and speaking of hornbills, we've got its cousin, which I shall show you in a moment. I'm now also scared of the comment that I've just made about James. I feel like there's going to be much reprimanding going on. But have a quick look. Not a trumpeter hornbill, but there is indeed a yellow-billed hornbill. Can you see it? Go straight in. Yeah, there we go. And you've got it. It's in the middle, in the top. There we go. There's the yellow-billed hornbill hopping around. That would be nice to, of course, have a look at a trumpeter hornbill, but sadly they're not very common around here, again, just because of the lack of the big fruit trees. And typically you'll see the big fig trees and things growing around in the river systems. What are you doing? Why is your mouth open? Look like it's ready to have an argument, don't you think? They always look so grumpy. We're going to keep scanning the plains, though. We'll try and hopefully chase an animal out that is sleeping in the grass. Of course, we're not going to do that, but it would be nice. So James has got signal again. We're playing a game of battling the gremlins. But let's go across to him, and I hope he's not too cross with me, because I told him that's what he sounds like.
I'm so angry I could spit. We too have not found any animals, I'm afraid. We went to the hyena den, that's where we're leaving from now. There are tracks on the driveway here, but I think that Ribbon has gone off hunting or lying in the shade or for some lone time at a spa perhaps, and the babies I think are inside. So unfortunately no hyenas for this last part of our morning drive, which has not been greatly filled with mammals, but that's not surprising given the weather. So I think we'll have one last foray, perhaps down Philemon's cut line and see if perchance something hasn't popped out, maybe the rest of the Nkahuma pride. There's a cuckoo just to the left of this big marula tree. Yeah, you've got it. Have you got it? Yes, you have. Now, we very seldom get a good shot of the Levallian's cuckoo or the striped cuckoo. Well, because they do that sort of thing, and they very seldom are prepared to sit still at all. Thank you. Yeah, well done. That is the striped or Levallian's cuckoo. Righty, we'll head down this road and see if maybe the rest of that Ninkapuma pride hasn't popped along here. Maybe Karula, who knows. There are 2 of these cuckoos now calling over here, 3 of them, and they parasitize babblers. Those are the most common birds that they parasitize, but those ones obviously not parasitizing them now. I would imagine it's much too late for them to be parasitizing them, and you will notice maybe how much less things like the woodland kingfishers, the cuckoos, definitely all of the cuckoos have stopped calling now, bar that one. Those were calling, but very few of them calling anymore. You hear the odd little chirrup of a Diederik's cuckoo, but the red-chested and the black cuckoos and the Claster's cuckoos, no more, as they have finished the breeding season and they're just sort of fattening up now for their long migrations. Not leaving us just yet. Probably start to leave around about the 1st of next month. So we've still got most of our birds for a little while. Hello, May. You're wondering about hummingbirds and whether or not we get them in South Africa. We don't, May. What we get is the convergent evolutionary equivalent, if you like. So we get something called a sunbird, which is a bird that is not closely related to the hummingbirds, but has evolved similar strategies to deal with similar environmental conditions. So there are the hummingbirds, the sunbirds. That's 2 species there. Let me change the page now, turn the page. There are a whole lot more. We get a whole lot of them. And they don't hover like hummingbirds do, but you can see they've developed the same colors and the same sort of shape of beak for exploiting the same food niche. And that is, of course, they have the ability to get into the nectar or the nectaries of flowers. That's why they have those beaks. And here they normally perch into it. They don't have to hover. Some of them can hover a bit, but they don't hover like the hummingbirds do. And it's a wonderful example of convergent evolution. So out in the Americas, in the New World, the strategy of getting to the nectaries of plants has resulted in a very similar kind of design as it did here in the Old World. So I'm sure they perhaps have a common ancestor somewhere back there, but they are not closely related. Also very small here. I mean, the smallest one is a collared sunbird, which is about that big, and the biggest one about that big. Righty, we have got sorry, I think we're going to head across to Tayla and get another update from her.
So we're driving around. We're actually on the Mala cut line now. So our update for you is that there are many birds around here. Now David and I were desperately trying to get a shot of a long-tailed paradise wider, which is beautiful. I actually took a photo. Let me see if I took a decent photo. It sat down for a whole of 2 seconds and then flew away. Let me first check and see if there's any that are worthy. Not great. But let me show you quickly. You have a look over there. You can see it. And beautiful bird. So it wasn't posing very well, but a very, very long tail. You can see the yellow sort of collar it has on the back of its neck, and that goes down onto its chest as well. And the reason why it's not a broad-tailed paradise wider, is because of this little point over here. I don't know if you notice there's a bit of a bubble. With a broad tail, it actually extends all the way along. It's much thicker, but very cool nonetheless. And it's a pity we didn't get to put it on screen, but it just would not sit still. Between the hornbill chasing it away and then the wind, it was seriously struggling. It was quite comical to watch it as it was trying to land. That long tail obviously doesn't help when you're trying to fly around on a windy day like today. I think it's almost better to have a shorter tail, not short like a batelier, because that doesn't help you either. But you need sort of something in between. It just gives you enough stability, and then of course it doesn't drag you around with all this gusting wind. I was really hoping we were going to see a leopard and some of these big marulas that are on this boundary, but it doesn't seem like today is our day for a spotted cat. It's been a long, long time since we have last seen a leopard. Hey David, how many drives are we on now? David says we're on too many drives, but perhaps some of you have been counting how many days we've been leopardless. So if you can let us know by hashtagging Safari Live. I think we're on about 4 days now, so about 8 drives? No, surely not that many. Although the days go so quickly here. Maybe 6 drives we've gone without seeing a leopard. I don't even know when the last time was that we saw them. Been ages. Tristan was actually saying that he hasn't seen leopards for about 2 weeks now. Just checking. There were greater painted snipes the other day. Just to see if they are in this little wetland here. This would be a good spot for Brent's corn crake that he saw. Sadly, nothing in there. That's a pity. Good little watering hole that. We're going to keep on searching. We're going to head towards 3 in Ropan. Hopefully our luck will change when we get there. James has now decided to do a bit of birding himself. So let's go back across to him.
Yes, we are definitely doing some birding in the absence of any mammals. That's not why we're doing birding, but, well, we've found some nice birds. That is a hoopoe, the African hoopoe, and posing very comfortably for us there. There were a whole lot more birds around here. There's some buntings and drongos and starlings and southern black tits and even an oriole. But they've moved on, while the hoopoe seems to have some form of stage fright. Now, just before you joined us, Viam said to me, are they related to things like scimitarbles? And interestingly, although it shares a name with them, an English name, you know, the scimitar-billed hoopoe and the green wood hoopoe are not in fact hoopoes in the same way that this one is a hoopoe. They belong to a different family, I think. I'm just going to check this up in case I have lied to my erstwhile friend Viam. I would hate for him to think that I'd lied to him. It is in a completely different family. So there they are. There are the other 2 species that we were talking about. That's the scimitar-bill, and that there is the green wood hoopoe. And they're called hoopoes, but they're from a totally different family. And I think they're just called the same thing because they have the same probing beak, which is used for similar things. The beak is used to probe largely in the ground in the case of this hoopoe, but in the scimitar-bill and the green wood hoopoe, they probe beneath the bark of trees. They spend a lot of time attached to trees, probing beneath the bark. They don't drill like woodpeckers do. They just sort of get underneath between the slits of the bark, and then they use a long tongue to try and retrieve insects. The other thing I wanted to say about the hummingbird, at least the sunbirds, is that I think they probably eat a lot more in the way of insects than do hummingbirds. I'm sure hummingbirds do supplement the diet with insects, but out here, you know, because of the lack of rain, we don't have a particularly rich floral abundance, and so I think you'll find that the sunbirds eat a lot more in the way of insects than do many of the hummingbirds. See if we can't spot a few other of the birds, or a few more of the birds that were in the bird party here, if they'll sit still for more than 3.5 seconds at a time. There was a bunting that went flitting off. Now I think, well, I can still hear the southern black tit going bzz 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 bzz. And they are always indicative of a bird party. If ever you hear that, you will almost certainly see 3 or 4 other species around it. Normally, I don't know, maybe they're somehow able to find out where the insects are moving. I can see the tit now, but it's flown off much too fast. There we go. There's the southern black tit. Very nice. You still see it there. I think it's moved. Then there's a drongo down below. But you might just be able to hear it. There, you can hear it going. Bzz, 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 bzz. There it flies. Into the distance. Come on, Jigger. I think we've had signal for more than 3.5 minutes this time, Vim. We're doing very well. We'll have a look at the view from the top here, just to show you what the day is turning into. And I think it's going to be fairly cloudy and miserable for much of the rest of the day. And then we'll also have a look at this herd of impala, which is, well, it's very reliable. It's often around here, this bachelor herd, with their friend Walter the wildebeest, who is now behind a pole. There we go. Very nice. All the men hanging around together. And as I was saying the other day, it's just before they start to get particularly upset with each other as we go towards the rut. Vim, you can't smell carcass, can you? I thought I smelt a bit of innards. Maybe not. This Ellie. Oh, have you seen an elephant? Oh, the dung. Yes, I think you're absolutely right. It smells like rumen. That's very, very good point. That's exactly what it was. Thank you very much for that, Vim. Now, Tayla is still on Cheetah Plains, and apparently she is doing what's known as bumbling along. I'd love to find out how that feels.
It's just so wonderful to bumble along these bumpy roads. I could think of many other words to describe the bumpiness on the roads, but we won't use them, will we, David? We'll just say nice things about the roads. Yeah, it's interesting when you're driving along, and actually she just had a conversation with David, saying to him that the thing that I'm looking forward to most about going home is, there's a lot of things I'm not looking forward to, but one of them is the smooth roads. I can't wait to just drive and not have to slow down for too many potholes, the occasional pothole. But as you head towards Johannesburg, they're not so bad anymore. Because out here, poor David has almost lost his teeth a couple of times because I slam on brakes because all of a sudden half the road is collapsed off of the side. So It makes for interesting driving out here. But luckily we don't have long cars, because there's nothing worse than sitting on a very long game drive vehicle and sitting in the back row. I think you've got the best view from there, because you can see higher than everyone else, especially if the cars are tiered, and also then you can look behind you and you've got all the space behind you to see things, and when like animals walk around the car, it's quite nice. However, the bumpiness that you feel, you've got to go so slowly over the little bolsters and things like that, otherwise you become airborne. And I know this because I've been on the back of many game drive vehicles when you're racing after wild dogs and the last thing you really want to do is slow down, so you just shout, "Hold on tight!" and everybody has to hold on for dear life. But yes, you literally end up doing this, up and down, bouncing like that. You actually sort of just have to anticipate the bumps and then stand up as you go over them. Otherwise you get a sore bottom, and that's no fun. Or sore coccyx actually if you land down on the chair hard enough, and that's probably one of the most painful things I think that you can experience. Oh, the birds are not staying around today. We're still trying to get a perfect shot of some birds trying to fly in this wind, because it's really quite funny. Everything's too high. Fly low down please, birds, to midway so we can see you. Doesn't help if they fly up past the roof and we can't see anything. Will we get lucky? I don't know. And no more elephants either, just they've gone now. Just James seems to have taken over the role as elephant whisperer this morning on this windy day. Had no luck, just that one Ellie bull who didn't really hang around for much time either. That's what it could have. Oh no, it flies again. Oh, and everybody's flying.
Hello again! We've been stopped. You see that, Viam? By a large stick, which I'm going to have to move out of the way. Hold on, everybody. Sorry about that crash cut. Not sure what happened. I'm not sure that anyone in the world knows these days. Still, we'll hopefully sort the problem out. I think this might be a bit big for me. It's interesting, though, because it's been dragged here. It's a piece of marula tree. But there are no marula trees here. An elephant has picked this up and dragged it here. I suspect it was pleasant. I don't want to be have done to me as a scorpion sting, so I should be a little bit careful. This is really interesting. There's not a marula tree in sight. Must have dragged it a long way. There's a dead marula just up the road. Let's go and see if we can't see it there. But I mean, very strange behavior. Let's see. I think it was picked here and carried down there by an elephant. From here. That's very weird. Huh. Fascinating. Right, well, we're on our way home now. Slightly abject misery. It is warming up now, at least. But the lack of kitty tracks has made it really quite depressing, because as Tayla was saying, how many days has it been since we've seen a leopard? Now this may or may not be because they're not here, but if you look around, the grass is just so long that unless a leopard is either walking on the road or lying right next to it, they will simply disappear. Which is not ideal if you're looking for them. Apparently Tayla also has now got no signal at all, so you're going to be with me possibly for the rest of the drive. I will attempt in the next 5 minutes to find something tremendously entertaining. I'll tell you what I did notice at the beginning of the drive was how all of these hibiscus flowers, there's one there, can you see that one, Viam? Yes, beautiful. All of them were closed on account of the lack of sun, and now immediately the sun's come out. They've all opened out in that glorious sort of spray of pale yellow, lovely colour, maroon in the middle, and then sort of the golden tips of the pollen. I just think they are so stunning. And I think there are quite a few species around here that I do not know the names of. Very lovely. Hello May, I don't know where it's native to. You say, where does rooibos grow? Rooibos, for those of you who don't know, is a tea, a very famous South African tea that is now sold all over the world. I don't like it particularly. Do you drink it, Viam? Viam quite likes it. And it's supposed to have all sorts of healing properties. And it's not I quite like the smell of it, but the taste I'm not particularly fond of. I think it's a fynbos plant, which means that it comes from the Cape Floral Kingdom, which is a whole kingdom of plants that is in the southern or Mediterranean parts of the Cape, and just a little bit up in the mountains up here. Interestingly, you find it here. That's a very, very small pocket though. And so that's in the Cape, and a lot of the plants there, very herbaceous. Many of them are used as teas. None of them as pleasant, though, smelling or tasting as rooibos. And yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's a fynbos plant. I might be wrong though. We'll see if we can't get someone to check that up. Some people really dislike it. My mother, for example, can't even smell it. She starts to have apoplexy if she smells rooibos tea. But it's especially pleasant with honey, for example. But apparently Tayla has got some more signal, so we'll go and find out if she's got some animals too.
We are just bumbling. We really don't have much out here this morning. It is very quiet. The birds have all left us. So now we are just going along a very bumpy road, which we will continue going on until we eventually get back to Djuma. But we're about to hit some serious corrugations on Gowrie Main, just because it's a main road and there are many different types of cars that go up and down on that road. But let's just keep bumbling, why don't we? See, maybe we get lucky. Maybe something pops out of the bushes. But in order for us to find it, we've got to look for the animals there. So we shall keep scanning left, right, left, right. David, are you doing this? You don't have a oh, you do. David, your ponytail must do this, but you have to. David likes the man bun though. He just twists it up, and his curly hair is always done like that. So I'd like to let mine loose. So yes, sometimes you get lucky. It makes for quite a nice little shelter. You can see lots of animals. We'll sit because we've got no signal. This is fun. Look at that termite mound, David. It's a big termite mound, isn't it? It is massive. It is an termite mound, and I'm fairly confident in saying that this is the biggest termite mound I've ever seen, and the largest one that we have here be Sands. This is Mount Termitorus, Mount Termitorus that we are now looking at, but sadly it doesn't seem to be very active, as it is covered in lots of grass at the moment. But you never know, it could still be active underneath the ground. Who knows? Unless you will have a big spade or perhaps a digging machine that you could dig below the surface of the earth and have a look. But I don't think I'd want to do that, as it would be quite difficult. But sadly, this is all the time that we have for you out here in the wilderness. But we hope that you've enjoyed this morning safari. Action-packed in the beginning, a little bit slow towards the end. But I hope that you all have a good night's rest if you're about to go to bed. And we will catch you first thing this afternoon for the sunset safari. From all of us here, a big thank you and a goodbye.